Hi folks, today I want to show you how I made this awesome banner for Evermotion Christmas promotion that it's made entirely in Blender, textured in Substance Painter and set up in Unreal Engine, and it's just Unreal Engine screenshot that you'll see right now, of course a bit tweaked in Photoshop. So let's get and see what is it. Okay, in Blender my project looked like that, and let's go see through the camera. That is our scene. It's entirely set up here, and what you can see is a background, that it's two objects. It's one plane and a small plane, and some gifts, some Christmas trees, birches, and bubbles. This bubble actually didn't make it to the end, so we just deleted it. Okay, so when it comes to modeling, it was really simple. First I made the background, and it's just a plane that was tessellated, or better saying subdivided, and I made all this by proportional editing. So when I have subdivided plane in Blender, I can switch to my vertex mode, I can turn proportional editing on, enable, and just by selecting any vertex I can grab the Z arrow with my mouse wheel. I can control how big influence will be of the proportional editing, and I can just make some mountains or hills or anything, whatever, and as you can see, it works flawlessly. After I made it with this plane, I decided to cut off this inside plane from this big plane outside, and the reason is because I wanted the texture that is visible to the camera, and as you can see, camera sees, which is placed here, sees mainly this image, this area. This is not visible as much as this just three hills. So I need to give them the best texture I can. So it will be 4K texture, and when I turn my UV view on, as you can see, it's greatly unwrapped, almost on perfect square, so it takes a lot of space of the texture. So when it will be 4K, it will be detailed enough for all my need. Okay, so that was the plane. Excuse me, this is not needed here. Okay, and those lights too, and this empty. The next thing I needed was those trees. Trees are modeled. It's just very simple model. It's some kind of plane that was extruded just to make the shape of the tree, and then I made all this sides, a little bit in inset, and I deleted the back faces also because I wanted to have the most of the texture space. The birches were modeled quite simple, and let's make just plain, and okay, cursor to center and selection to cursor, and we can scale it in y-axis. Yeah, so almost like a tree. Scale in x-axis. Yep, and apply the scale. Go to edit mode, tabulation, and just make some loops here, and make many loops this way. Okay, it's okay. And now go to faces mode and start cutting it like that, like that, just randomly cutting it as you wish. It's all your decision how it can be made, and to be honest, unless it's random, pseudo-random, because you make it, it's okay. It doesn't really matter how the pattern looks. So almost like a birch. Ctrl 2 just to add our subdivision surface modifier, and now you only need to support some, not this way, support some of these edges if they look too round for you, and some of them do. And then, with your proportional editing selected, you can bend a tree a bit. Also do it randomly. So, well, not to the best rounded tree here. I think I need to, oh yeah, make it small. To make it thick, it's the simplest thing. Just select all faces, extrude it, and and delete back faces by selecting one face, pressing Shift G, that selects similar, coplanar, X for deleting faces, and you have it almost, because you can either support this edge so it's looks more like a face of the tree, or just cut them or edge split or anything you want just to make it more defined. Okay, so that's the way I made the birches. I made several, I guess 3 of them, and then just flipped them, scaled them, and flipped them in Z-axis, in X-axis, and that's the way. So, we've got our trees, we've got our Christmas trees, we've got our backplane, and the gifts. And the gifts come from Arc Models Vol 88 collection. Those are those gifts, and to be honest, it's just this one gift on the left. I imported it as FBX to Blender, deleted the 2 other gifts, and just scaled it and rotated it in the scene, so it looks like this. Didn't change anything because those gifts are cool enough. I only grouped them together into one object and unwrap them, yeah, and at the final they are unwrapped so they do not overlap, and you can export those gifts as they are here as the single object to Substance Painter and texture them there. They have 2 materials. One material is front boxes, it's just box material, and the other material is for these ribbons and its front key. Okay. So the last thing was the text, and text was made with text tool in Blender, just with some Christmas font, and it wasn't a really big stuff. I also scattered some trees here and there, and also scattered some gifts here, but to be honest, on the final visualization they are not visible because they are too far, and I used a shallow depth of field in Unreal Engine, so this part is mainly blurred, so don't worry about it. Okay, so that sums up the first part, the modeling and setting up the stand in Blender. Now I needed to texture all those things and export to Unreal Engine. So texturing was made in Substance Painter, as I mentioned. Substance Painter is great software, really great for work. As you can see, my material for all these front trees, because they're not back trees, just front trees, is quite simple. First, I took my chipped, cracked concrete material and applied it to the faces. As you can see, it's quite nice. It makes feel that they're made of concrete or just really damaged cardboard, and that was my intention. For that I need a lot of surface variation here, so I added also this layer and this. As you can see, it was just painted on the mask. As the Substance Painter has got wonderful ability to paint only the mask and choose material later. So I can just take my brush here, I take my alpha as a dirt, and brush with this dirt, excuse me, but I need to brush with white color because it's alpha. Yeah, and it's changing the appearance of my trees, changing the height in this particular example. And if I want to change the color, I can do it after that. So that was my painting. Of course, I will not change that color. I don't need to change this color. And if you want, you can of course turn the color just on and off. On the top there is my color layer. It's a base color layer, and those all the patterns that I download from textures.com, great resource site, and some of them are also from Google Images and something like that. And of course, the only thing that I needed to consider, that I wanted to texture all my trees differently. So how to do that when they overlap like that? Yes, well, it's quite simple. You use Quick Mask. You're just going to press T, and you're going in Quick Mask mode. You select this polygon fill mode and object, and change it to black. Then you just drag it. Drag, and it's in black. Black is unselect, so you press I for invert, and now it's select. Now you press T to exit editing Quick Mask, and you can paint only on these selected polygons. So now you can go to, for example, projection tool. You take some texture that you want, any texture you want, or just go to your Explorer. You take some JPG. Oh, okay, I got textures here. Yeah, so for example, let's take this abstract pattern and just drag and drop here. Make it, it's a texture, so you take a texture, and we want it only for this current session. Import here, and oh, here it is. No, here it is. Abstract texture. You just in this production mode, you put it in this base color. Now if it's too big, you just press S, and you have already all your tooltips here. So with right mouse button you can zoom in and zoom out. With middle mouse button you can transform it, and with a left mouse button you can rotate it, all time holding your S button. So okay, I release my button, S button, release my mouse, I just make the brush bigger. Okay, here we are. So the tree is painted now. I can exit projection mode tool, and voila, it's my tree. Now when I press Y, it just clears my mask selection, and I can start with another tree. So T for select. This mode is okay. Black, okay. Just select invert. T for exiting, and I can start painting another just by going into this mode. This mode, and painting. And Y for exception. And let's go to brush to exit it. Yep. So each tree was made this way. It's really convenient, fast way for texturing close objects. Okay. So that how trees were textured. The similar methods were made also for bubbles, like those two bubbles. Very simple free materials. Bubbles were also imported from Arc Models collection. It's this model. I took just these two bubbles without materials, just meshes, imported it to Blender, deleted everything else, placed them and rotated them into the scene, so they are just laying here. So that's very simple models. I made sure that they are unwrapped correctly, and they are out of the box. Isn't that great? So you just take this. Yes, that's one. If you press everything, yeah, that's my textures. Okay, there is some waste of space, but to be honest, they are small, and they are also beyond the sharpness field with, because the sharpness will be just made for this plane when the 12 days of Christmas come, and everything behind it and everything in front of it will be blurred. As you can see in this final example, those bubbles are blurred, so Even that texturing was a overkill. I could leave them alone, but I wanted just for fun texture them. So it was very very simple. I just in case of this bubble, I had just brass pure material, which is taken from materials from Substance Painter here. This is brass pure material with changed uniform color, so it's very simple. And on the top of that I add my fill layer with just white color and this kind of roughness, and it only was in a metal roughness and color channel, even. And I painted on the mask. Yes, I added black mask, and I took my paint tool. I go to alpha, and I found some nice snowflake image, and use it as alpha. So it was really simple. As you can see, alpha is here. So when I took, for example, this shape, alpha now looks like that. Now I just make sure that it's white, and voila, it is. Well, maybe resolution isn't too great here of this particular example, but you know how it works. It's just this layer. Perfect. Let's undo that. And the other bubble was made in different way, because I just find a very fine pattern like that, and applied it into fill layer onto channels as a base color in normal just normal base color, and in height as a black and white. I of course converted it to black and white in Photoshop, so it's absolutely no-brainer here. You already know how to do it. And I of course made some blurred edges on height map, so I blurred it a bit, not to have very jagged edges on this color change. So that is the bubbles, and the third is just material of those hanging metal elements. And it's very simple, because it was just iron brushed material applied, nothing other, because I really didn't want it, and there was no need to make anything more complicated for that. Okay, so that was the bubbles. Another thing is of course snow plane. And snow plane, what's great addition to the latest edition of algorithmic software is this button, and it's a Substance Source library. It's absolutely perfect thing, because you can go to Substance Source website and you get access to really awesome library of materials, ready materials. I really recommend it. And you just type your snow. Oh yeah, I got it already. Thick snow cover, and that was my material. I just excuse me, the Firefox can make it strange, but it looks like that. It just was downloaded by me, and it's absolutely great terrain material, which I just applied on this small plane here, yes, from Blender. And to make it more fancy, I added another layer that was hand painted. It's fill layer with mask. It's my favorite way of working in Painter now. And I just added brush, let's say dirt, yeah, here. Let's make it white, because when painting on mask we're painting white, and as you can see, it's awesome. It's just getting more awesome and awesome with each brush. And on top of that, I wanted to get more this kind of cracks, so I took a concrete material and used only height channel and normal channel. Just let's enable it. As you can see, wow, already great cracked snow cover. That's what I like. And that was how all this snow was made. The other part of the snow, the big part was snow, was made the same way. but the texture resolution for the big part I just took 2K. I didn't want it anything big, and for this small part I exported 4K. And what's great in Substance Painter that you can work in 2K and switch to 4K anytime you want, or just export textures and select 4K here in export panel. When exporting to Unreal Engine, make sure that you choose Unreal Engine for packed. Just make the directory right, JPEGs are okay, you press export and you're fine, totally fine. Okay, so that was my snowplane. Is there anything to talk about when it comes to texturing? We talk about trees. At the end I haven't textured text, so no, snowplane was made. And gifts, okay, we can see it's very simple, absolutely the most simple way to make gifts. So there are two materials, two texture sets, one for front boxes, one for the ribbons. And front boxes were just had this material that I put a texture. I don't know if it's here. Okay, the texture of the stars, and this texture comes just from Arc Model Selection itself. So it's in my Christmas BX models, and it was, I guess, 23. Oh yeah, and it's just this texture, very simple texture for Evermotion, and I placed it in my Substance Painter base color, and used triplanar projection for it all. I could use UV mapping, but I decided no, let's make it just triplanar projection. 10 on 10, it will be enough, and it looks great already. I really don't need anything else. I added also from Stążki, and it's on the ribbons. I used material that it's well, it says no matter so selected, but it was gold pure, so really nice golden ribbon. And that sums up the stage 2, the texturing.